Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, Shinrin Yoku, and Yurt Life, bringing you a grand solar minimum update, Tuesday, January 9th, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time 2024. You're looking at Lewotobi, Laki-Laki in Indonesia. In fact, the alert level has been raised to 4. And we have other things to worry about here in the U.S. 2 major winter storms impacting the U.S. now with blizzard conditions in Alaska. Keep calm. It's boom time. Winter storm leaves at least 4 dead and puts more than 17 million under tornado watch in the southeast. Deadly storms sweep across the south with extensive tornado damage. Let's take a look.
Welcome back. This is new video just into Fox Weather, and unfortunately it features this. Out of Jackson County, Florida. This is off to the north of PCB, Panama City Beach, and it is damage as those storms rolled on through. Tornado damage. We had powerful storms producing confirmed tornadoes across the Panhandle through the early part of the day today, and unfortunately, that severe weather concern has persisted through the afternoon and will continue on into the evening hours. And this
is a potent storm with active watches continuing through the night here. You can see the tornado watches in maroon all the way from Fort Lauderdale up through Raleigh, North Carolina. And in fact, tornadoes have been confirmed in multiple locations. Here we're going to look at aerial footage showing destructive from the Florida tornado. The first look at the tornado damage in the Florida Panhandle shows roofs torn off of buildings, mobile homes ripped apart, and down trees about 60 miles inland from Panama. And we have more footage here over at our Twitter feed, over at X, Oppenheimer Ranch Project, at Diamond the Dave, damage in Panama City. This footage looks much more severe, in my opinion. So let's quick take a look at this. There is no audio, but look at that entire, looks like a 3-story condo there, tilted. That's complete loss there. Now, clearly, houses aren't made as strong as they used to be, being gutted here by low-level tornadic activity. You can see here what appears to be a warehouse that completely got obliterated. And so come over to our Twitter feed over at X, Oppenheimer Ranch Project, at Diamond the Dave, and follow us. We're trying to get to 8,000 followers at the end of the week, and we could use your help. Second confirmed tornado in Mobile, Alabama. A second tornado has developed in the south. The first one will be crossing downtown Mobile. It could be affecting areas along the causeway as well as over at the Spanish Fort. Heed the warnings. And more than 1,000 flights are canceled, ladies and gentlemen, as extreme weather batters the U.S. The cancellations were felt most acutely in Chicago, where ice and snow briefly halted all flights on Tuesday afternoon. Airports elsewhere in the Midwest and the Northeast were also affected, and the massive winter storm battering the U.S. knocked out power ahead of a brutal freeze, which is going to come right behind the tail of the storm, and we'll get to that thermodynamic forecast in just a moment here. But first, let's take a look at some of the power outages that we saw earlier today as we were assembling the video. This is probably 8 hours ago. 102,000 without power in North Carolina, 83,000 in Florida. And let's move this through here and just refresh it and see how we're doing. Not so much better. In fact, it's gotten much worse. Almost 500,000 people without power on the East Coast, 179,000 in PA, 146,000 in North Carolina, 115,000 in New York is going to be almost 500,000 there alone. Virginia approaching 62,000 there, Maryland 50,000. This is only going to get worse, and we're going to see more power outages probably happening with the next wave of systems. Bitter cold temps possible in Colorado as the polar vortex-related cold snap looms, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But first, the total year-to-date snowfall at Wolf Creek finally surpassed 100 inches. It usually does that around New Year's, and we're just a little late this year. coming in on the 8th, I believe they surpassed that. Here is the snowfall totals from the last 72 hours. You can see epic snow up in the Pacific Northwest with 3 feet in many areas. In our region, we are the big winter chicken dinner here, 36 plus. That is off the charts, so the charts don't go any higher. You can see as the blizzard conditions move their way across the center of the U.S., major areas of Nebraska with a foot or more, and a foot or more in areas of Kansas as well. And those are just the totals as of 6 a.m., so these may have changed. Heavy snow in New Hampshire and Vermont, including several feet in both regions. And more snow is in the forecast. Let's take a look. 2 major winter storms impacting the U.S. Blizzard conditions in Alaska. Flooding potential in Hawaii as well. 2 powerful systems continue to impact the Pacific Northwest, central and southern, and eastern U.S. this week like a tweak. Look at the map. It's lit up like a rainbow flag. Severe thunderstorms, damaging winds, heavy snow, blizzard conditions, flash flooding, and coastal impacts will all be possible across the U.S. in the next 48 hours. In Alaska, blizzard conditions are expected on the Alaskan coast Wednesday. Meanwhile, heavy rainfall will lead to flooding concerns in Hawaii, while we have major flooding concerns for the East Coast as this storm barrels up the coast. Let's take a look. Follow me now. Here is that system that is going to barrel up the coast. It's currently moving there now. Let's move this back. So you can see that huge low pressure system. Snow on the back end. It's going to bomb out here. Maybe bring some flurries to western PA, New York, and the Northeast as it moves out. But it is the heavy precipitation that is going to cause damage. Let's take a quick look at the total precipitated moisture. I know it's in here. Okay, yes, here we are. That's the 24-hour, and that's what we're looking for there. So you can see how there's going to be heavy totals, 3 or 4 inches on top of already existing snow moving through the Northeast. That's going to lead to flash flooding over the next few days, and that's bad news for those people. Now, if we look at the total snowfall coming up for the next few events, here is Wednesday through Thursday and into Friday. By Friday, the system coming in the west is going to move down all the way to the Four Corners region and set up for the next system that's going to move up to the northeast. You can see those lingering amounts up in the northeast, huge totals. It's looking as coming for New Hampshire and Maine, 16 to 20 inches, perhaps in the higher elevations. And then the storm is going to drop down through the Pacific Northwest, bringing heavy totals to Washington State, Oregon, as well as moderate totals, 16 inches or more to the Sierra Crest, Four Corners region. Snow all the way down south into southern Arizona and some of the ski resorts there. And then it is going to bomb out and move through again. Add insult to injury, the same exact path as the last storm. Heavy snow for eastern Canada. And take a look at these models as we move them out. They're not going to be accurate, but the snow is going to continue to pummel the U.S. But the bad news is the cold. Now let's take a look at this thermodynamic report here. We could see some early season iguana apocalypses happening now. Here is the plume, January 9th through the 10th, that is going to start to develop in Western Canada. Take a look at that. Minus 22 is going to develop by at least Thursday, January 11th. That's going to lead to minus 40 rapidly on Friday, January 12th. And some of that cold plume is going to start to dip into Montana by this weekend, Saturday, and into Sunday. That'll be our fun day for multiple states, where the low temperature will be 5 to 22 degrees below zero. And that cold plume is going to push all the way down towards Texas, the nexus of the Schmexus, and bring some freezing, damaging temperatures to the state by Monday, January 15th. Now, these models may not be accurate past here, but the cold plume is going to continue for quite some time and bring some chilly temps to Florida. Look at that, 49 potentially in Miami or Estero. Holy macaroni. And that is going to continue for a while here as the cold invades the U.S. ahead of February. A little early for the severe cold, in my opinion, but I do digress. Shut up, Al. Get in your hole. Oh, He's floating away on a glacier. Central Japan, quake death toll tops 200, over 100 accounted for. This is coming from Kanazawa, Japan. The death toll from a powerful New Year's Day earthquake that struck Ishikawa Prefecture and surrounding areas in central Japan has surpassed 200, with over 100 people still missing as a large-scale operation started at a severely hit area. Local authorities said Tuesday. Bad news coming from there. Our prayers and thoughts go out. As of Tuesday afternoon, 202 people were confirmed dead, with 102 accounted for, and I'm sure the death toll will rise. Seismic update. We had a few quakes of note today. Let's go over them for you. Here, especially 5.9 in Japan, 10 kilometers. That event is over, but this is an ongoing deep event, 5.5 in Chile, multiple quakes in the region, so we could see a major quake kicking off in that region anytime now. Let's take a look at the U.S. in the West. 3.1 in Mena, Nevada. This is a standard location for these types of quakes and not out of the ordinary. Good news, all is quiet seismically. Worldwide volcano news update. Lewotobi volcano, volcanic ash advisory to 14,000 feet. We've got Marapi also to 17,000 feet today, Popo to 18,000, Santo Huito to 14,000. And let's take a look at some of the photos and some of the good pictures coming out in the last 24 hours. Lewotobi, Laki volcano in Indonesia, Flores. Phase of intensity activity is now in progress. Paroxysms at the summit. This has been ongoing now for 3 days and is now peaking to a crescendo as alert level is boosted to level 4. And there are people in this area, and it's getting pretty scary. Reykjanes volcano update. Uplift reaches 5 millimeters per day. It's increasing. That means a fissure eruption is imminent on the Reykjanes Peninsula just north of Grindavik, unfortunately, and we're waiting for what's happening there. Here is a close-up of that Lewotobi, Laki in Indonesia paroxysm, and take a look at the city right below it. Must be a pretty scary situation. And a quick run over here to the Reykjanes Peninsula. Earthquakes during the last 48 hours. Hours of powers. Not really. Not much going on there on the Reykjanes Peninsula. But overall, all regions in Iceland, a slight uptick there on the Vatnajökull Glacier, as well as in the Tjörnes fracture zone. Now, typically when the Reykjanes Peninsula erupts, another large volcanic eruption from a major player happens, and we're just waiting for that to unfold. Here we're looking at the Grindavik tremor as it has been increasing over the last 3 days, typically indicating another fissure eruption is imminent. So stay tuned for more updates. Space weather news. The sun has gone quiet. Remember, the solar polar fields have reversed. We are now descending into solar minimum and maybe the bottom of the grand solar minimum. The sun's latest HMI intensity is lacking large sunspots. It's taking quite some time here to parse up. Just a bunch of pinpricks, but we do have maybe a more significant spot turning into Earth-facing quiet territory as we speak, but there is no flaring on the disk. All very low-level activity, and the 3-day geomagnetic forecast is G2. Or even maybe even psychic. We'll see how low it goes. Follow us for updates. The early universe was bananas. According to the New York Times, images from the Webb Space Telescope suggest that newborn galaxies look weirder than expected. Or perhaps these are just far away galaxies. Exactly how screwy was physics at the dawn of time, or 26 billion light years away? It's anyone's guess. And these may not be, in fact, galaxies in their infancy. It just may be astrophysics in its infancy, perhaps. What say you? Leave a comment below. The first photo from the crippled private Paragen Moonlander holds a clue to the anomaly. Now, if you didn't know, there are some private corporations that are trying to land on the moon. So apparently the moon is not off limits if you just want to go up there. But this lander failed to orient itself properly. to face the sun to charge its solar panels, an issue that Astrobiotics thinks stemmed from an anomaly in Paragen's propulsion system. And there looks to be some dents or some ripples and some bending there. I don't know. What do you know? Nobody knows. Isn't it all fake? Space is fake, right? Flat Earth. Scientists outline a bold solution to climate change, biodiversity loss, and social injustice. And this extends all the way to like 2100. An international team of scientists led by Oregon State University researchers has used a novel 500-year data set to frame a restorative pathway through which humanity can avoid the worst ecological and social outcomes of carbon dioxide. The only problem is they didn't look into what carbon dioxide was, which is plant food and is actually beneficial to Earth. Now, these idiots were able to dupe the money funders into giving them millions of dollars, I'm sure, to create this paper, which is a complete sharticle and has no benefit to humanity or Earth. But I'm sure they spent a lot of the money on hotels and hookers. But I do digress. William Ripple, the lead author, claims that in the future, if the climate gets out of change or out of whack and increases, guess what they're going to do? Yeah, they're going to ban fossil fuels. Yeah, they're going to cap CO2. Who knew? Now you do. This is the dumbest thing that could ever be conceived. It's not science. This is propaganda. It's garbage. It's a waste of money. And for 20 years now, we have thousands of papers and tens of thousands of scientists that are complete idiots. Science in the service of the agenda was explained today, thankfully, by Tyler Durden. A great article coming out from Zero Hedge, published just moments ago, 3 p.m. Starting in the mid-20th century, companies began distorting and manipulating science to favor specific commercial interests. And this is no different than today with the propaganda of climate science. You want to learn about real science? Take a look at what just happened earlier today. Dr. Willie Soon, a good friend of mine and of the channel, was interviewed by Tucker Carlson in a secret interview just revealed today. Yes, in December of 2023, Sarah's Science co-founder, Dr. Willie Soon, was invited to talk to Tucker Carlson about the idea of abiotic oil or fossil fuels, quote unquote. And the interview was amazing. One of Willie's best, so go check it out. The links will be below. Now, actual science coming out. Bottled water contains thousands of nanoplastics, so small they can invade your body's cells. And in fact, yeah, it's true. They can even make you gay. I said it. I'm not even Alex Jones. Violence rocks Ecuador after drug lord's disappearance from jail. It was insane. We posted a bunch of the terrorists up on our X. Let's take a look. And please, if your children are watching, put them away now. All right, buckle up, Buttercup. I told you to put the kids to bed. Here is some of the first footage we got earlier today. Now, the good news is that these masked gunmen have all been arrested. And I don't think they murdered anyone here on the scene of this particular... Look at them, just sticking guns in the necks of people. And that's not some of the best footage. I mean, a lot of it is crazy. Yeah. They've got them on the ground here. This is happening in Ecuador. Crazy stuff. Here are people running for their lives at a university in Ecuador. So it is exactly what we predicted 8 years ago. Global unrest, mass migration, and the next things are coming is a huge volcanic eruption, starvation. It is not exactly like we said 8 years ago, not going to roll out slowly or no, not going to roll out quickly. It's not going to be a quick event that just happens. It's happening right before your very lives. As the global economy is set for its worst half decade of growth in the last 3 decades, according to the World Bank, it means you need to get your ducks in a row. Learn to grow food. Hopefully you've been preparing for years as we've been providing this information, and you've got a little hedge against the system. And that's a boom to knowledge. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance as we enter the dystopian future that we've been warning you about. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Become a Patreon. Support the work we do. We love you. Be safe. And that is a boom to knowledge.